Good evening, Africans, my dear brothers and sisters in Africa and across our beloved global society. This evening, I'd like to extend my deepest greetings to each and every one of you. On behalf of the People's Talk Show, we'd like to welcome you to today's discussion that will be looking at a very interesting topic. So we have an honor to welcome each and every one of you and to invite you to be a part of today's conversation. My name is D. Kafinas Nentu. I'm speaking to you from Liberia. Today I will be joined with my distinguished colleague, Ishopan from Nigeria, Kujo from Ghana, Kwajo from Ghana, and Kabala from DR Congo. Gentlemen, you are most welcome. This is the People's Talk Show. The People's Talk Show is a part and parcel of the People's News Africa. And the People's News Africa is that platform that brings you information about Africa's history, Africa's culture, politics. It's a platform that raises the pride and dignity of Africa. We'd like to once again welcome each and every one of you to this discussion. Today, we will be looking at a very interesting topic that says, does Africa need her own political and economic system to drive her own development agenda? This is the topic that we have for you today. And to have this topic discussed in depth, we will rely on the expertise of our distinguished colleague here today in studio. But first and foremost, one thing you need to understand is that over the past few years, Africans have had a long capitalist system of economic transaction. And this system that we've had mostly were introduced by the colonialists. And ever since then, Africa has been practicing this kind of system. But most people believe that we have not fully integrated this system in our own culture such that they reflect the will and aspiration of Africa. As a matter of fact, many people believe that this has been a tool that has been used to exploit African for a very long period of time. So many are calling for Africa adopting their own political and economic system. That way, we might be able to prepare a future that would deliver Africa to the right path or to the right place that we all desire. So, we want to hear from our panelists today and we want to get their feedback as to what exactly has happened over the period of time. How can Africa build a resilient political and economic system that will transform the lives of our people? So, gentlemen, I'd like to take this minute to once again welcome each and every one of you. I will give you the next 1 minute, each of you, to please introduce yourself so briefly that those who might be joining us for the first time today will get to know each of you. I will start with Kabbalah, then Isopan, then Kujo, and then Kwajo. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Brother Kathina. It's a pleasure to be in this platform again, as always, where we share ideas and information pertaining to the struggles of our liberation, which is the African liberation. My name is Kabbalah from DRC originally, currently living in South Africa. I'm an author, I'm an Afrocentrist, and I'm also a member of the African Continental Unity Party, also a member of the Free Minded. It's a pleasure to be here again. Thank you very much.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Moza Isokman, and once again, we are here again as we usually meet every Saturday to discuss various issues affecting our continent and rubbing minds together and trying to find a possible workable solution and a way forward. And I'm happy to be on this platform and look forward to further deliberation on the topic of discussion for today.
Thank you very much, my brothers. Really happy to meet
I
you
am
guys
from
again. My name is Kujo, and Ghanaian. I am extremely ecstatic to be with you and our panels and our viewers. It should be another wonderful debate. Thank you.
to you, everyone. My name is Kojo Eji Yabua. I am from Ghana, an African. By profession, I'm a political scientist and a policy analyst. I am a member of the African Control P and also a member of the Primo. I am happy to share.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, each of you, for this very brief introduction. Now, as the conversation begins, I would just like to start first and foremost with Kabbalah. Does Africa actually need her own political and economic system to drive development across the continent? And if you say yes, why is that so?
Thank you very much. Indeed, Africa absolutely needs her own political and economic system for the simple reasons that everything that Europeans have brought to this world, of African world, has never been something that we can rely on, has never been for our own development, has never been for our empowerment, has never even been for our own betterment. It has been only for one and one purpose, which is to facilitate the Eurocentric, the exploitation of our resources and the enslavement of African people. That's the reason why it is absolutely understandable and logic that African people must be able to sit down and think about what can be their own system of governance. When you look about, for instance, the economic system as Africa is concerned, we started firstly from the period, the post-independence of Africa, we're somewhere around 1960s, where we were told that development was simply a modernization. It means we had to be the copycat of the European to do here in Africa. At the same time, we had to neglect our own culture, our own traditions, our own ways of life, to embrace European ways of life as modernization in order to develop. And for that to be applicable, what we were told to do was to go into European institutions to borrow some large sums of money in order to begin implementing that development model that was advertised to us. And that has resulted, and still it is the current situation. It is that African has found itself or herself in a very economic debt whereby it is impossible even to repay those debts. And because for you to be able to pay those debts, you must be able to print the money. You must be able to print the money, and to control the money. But unfortunately, we don't control our own money. And in reality, no country in the world controls its own money, except maybe curiously, North Korea and Iran, and also Cuba. Those are apparently the three countries that control their own monies. It means they have control of their own central banking system. But the rest of the countries, including the United States of America, our money is controlled by individuals who sit behind the corridors and dictating the international politics in each direction. And that's absolutely a dangerous situation that makes Africa a victim of debt and other reality that cannot allow Africa to develop economically, no matter what we do. And coming back to the political reality, of course, Africa needs its own or her own political system. What we have now, which has been given to us, is a democracy, which is in fact not democracy if we have to base that system in terms of the definition which has been given, and compared to what is happening in reality in our everyday's life. We are being allowed to participate in the direction of the country, or in the process of the country, of the direction of the country, only once after 5 years or 7 years, whereby you participate by voting, candidates that have been selected, by electing candidates that have been selected for us. You see, that's the only democracy that we have, and every system in reality should be, as a political system should be designed to handle people in terms of crisis, especially. That's the reason why every system is designed, is in terms of crisis. So when we are going, for example, under the crisis of coronavirus, there's no democratic process that is being taken in order to take all the important decisions that are being taken as we're speaking right now. There are many decisions that are being taken for lockdown, for example, for vaccines, for whatever, this social distances and all those things. It might be, they might be important decisions, but the question is, are they democratically established decisions? And the answer is simply no, because none of us has been consulted, none of us has been, has participated in the process of taking those decisions. So that's one of the, shortcomings of the what we call democratic system, which in reality is not democracy. So I believe strongly that Africa needs her own political system, and Africa needs her own economic system, and we are here maybe to discuss what that could be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kabbalah, for this very interesting conversation. There are some key issues that you raised that might come back on the table again for us to look at in depth. But I would like to come to Kwajo. There are many instances, Kwajo, where a lot of conditions shrink these kinds of debates about Africa having her own political and economic systems. And one of those conditions is the lack of unity amongst Africans, and the lack of cooperation amongst Africans, and the extent to which Africans leaders have become so power greed, and they corrupt the system, and the level of bad governance seem to make collaboration and partnership very difficult. How close are we towards discussing and having a kind of agreement around such conversation like this? Kwajo, Kwajo, are you there?
Oh, thank you very much, Tinashe. This is very important question or composition that we can look into. You made mention of, can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me there?
No, unfortunately, your line is very blurred, and we are not getting you.
I can hear you clearly, but I don't know if you cannot hear me.
Okay, go ahead. It's better now. Okay, so Isopan, while Kwajo is trying to adjust his system, let me put a question to you. Uh, you got the question already,
I'm
right?
sorry
Or
for
should I
that.
repeat it?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better. Go ahead.
No.
Okay, so Isopan, you can please take off from Kwajo. His line seems to be a little bit terrible.
No, I got the question right. I can.
All right. If you can please
Okay, so
repeat the question for me.
yeah,
Connection is
I was saying there are often a lot of conditions that try to shrink the extent to which this debate can become possible. For example, the lack of unity amongst African, the lack of political cooperation, the lack of even this economic cooperation amongst Africans is very far from realization. Okay, how possible is it to actually build this consensus around Africa having her own political and economic system amidst this high level of disunity amongst Africans?
Thank you, Mr. Kafina. You've asked a very interesting question. Unity. There is a parable in my language, Benin, that it is hard when we are going on a journey united. But imagine that journey, that same journey, when we are when there is disunity amongst us. So you can imagine how hard it is to go on a journey in unity, and how almost impossible it becomes when there is disunity amongst brethren. Africa's biggest problem is the disconfort seed that our colonizers have sown amongst our midst, that also led to the brutal genocide in Rwanda. We've still not gotten rid of this seed, which we've not uprooted it out of our system, which was sown amongst us. So because of that, it has become really hard for Africans to be united on a particular goal. And this is causing a lot of chaos and havoc in our political and economic system. You can see during the process of negotiation for the collaboration, trade collaboration amongst the African states, the painful process and the delay over decades before part of African countries, states, could come together and agree on a border trade. The same trade that Nigeria is still not a signature to. So the disunity is doing us a lot of disservices. And the topic of today's discussion, as your question goes, if we need our own economic and political system out of the capitalist political system which we inherited from the West. Well, I think I had a conversation on this platform a long time ago. I don't think we do. I don't think changing names and system is what we need right now. You change the system, but the same actors are still playing in still playing the same old games. Doesn't really bring any gains or forward development in any sense. If we are going to really make economic and political gain in moving forward, we have to learn to think outside the box, not just the mere changing of political affiliations and economic affiliations to the West. We have to look at African and take the political system and the economic system that is very popular in the world and see how it works for us. Let's take Dubai for an instance. Dubai is an Islamic state with a lot of Sharia laws and restrictions. But Dubai has found a way to make the Western system and the Islamic system work peacefully together. If I tell you up to 90% of the Dubai, the German word is coming to my head, I'm sorry, of the Dubai people living in Dubai are mostly foreigners from the Western world, from all walks of life. They made it work. The only way they were able to make it work was actually looking at Dubai, looking at their lifestyle, and how they can incorporate it in a way that will favor everyone. So Africans need to look at African way of life. I keep saying this. We cannot imitate other people's lifestyle. We have to look at our way of life and try to incorporate it in a way that will also be welcoming to foreigners. Because we cannot live in isolation. We live in a global community. The world is missed. Those living in having illusion about seclusions are just daydreaming. The world is a global village. It's already missed. How can we use this globalization to the benefit of Africa, politically and economically, by looking at African way of life and incorporating it in a way that welcomes other people outside of the African shores? If we are going to move forward, we have to build unity. There is no two ways about it. There is no way around it. Unity is the key word. We have to see each other as brothers and sisters in the same struggles. We have to be very, very diligent and prudent in the way we choose our leader. African biggest problem at the moment is illiterate people, backward thinking people, people without vision sitting in the seat of powers, driving the affairs of Africa to where? To the Stone Age. We have leaders who are incompetent in every ramification one can imagine, driving the affairs of a nation. This is Africa's biggest problem. Look at Uganda. 35 years in power. 35 years in power, and he's still fighting to remain in power. This is African sickness. Look at Nigeria. Building economic success from 1999. 2015, the economic growth just stopped and went down the drain. If we do not learn to choose our leader prudently, people with vision, a vision that can motivate and awaken the spirit of the African people to greatness, we will keep having this same problem over and over again. So for us to move forward, for us to prosper, for us to progress economically and politically, we need to be united and need to fight those who are fighting to pull us backward.
Thank you, Yusupan. Kudo, there are many of those who believe that we have to rethink the way we do business with the global society. We have to rethink the way we do business with ourselves here in Africa. For example, there are many studies that have shown uh, Africa do business amongst ourselves, like trade within Africa, like 30% as compared to 60% with the European, 40% with those from North America, and like about 30% for countries within Asia. So you realize that there is much more lower cooperation amongst African and higher cooperation with other countries outside of Africa. So what if we work around the issue of building collaboration, strengthening the current economic system, such that policies are more geared towards building a strong financial management system, having a kind of holistic economic reform that empower local businesses, including small and medium-sized enterprises or local entrepreneurs, setting up and revamping the agricultural sector such that Africans are full self-sufficient and all those kinds of stuff. Other than try to alter the current economic system that we have? Do you see any possibility?
Thank you very much. Of course, there is a possibility. There's always a possibility. I mean, the the economic system of Africa. I'm going to use Ghana as an example because I'm a Ghanaian and I know more about our economic system, and I can sort of refer to that and use that as my point of reference. So this is the situation, right? Being interconnected is very, very good. It's great. We have to be interconnected with other countries because there are some resources that my country may have, but other country may need, which means they are short of it. And there are some other resources that other countries may have, but my country may not have. So which means we have to have some sort of commerce going on to be able to relate into meeting each other's needs. Let me give you this example, right? When you come to the United States here, you will never, I repeat, you will never see any local government official driving any other car made by a different country. The local government, up until the federal government, every car they use is made by the country, the United States of America. In Ghana, there is a company that makes cars from the scratch. Every local government, up until the state level, the cars they use are not made in Ghana. They are made by foreign countries. This is where the reformation comes in, and then the adaptation of the system that was given to us, so that we will make it work for ourselves. Why is this important? There are fire service, police, ambulance, local government, state government. All these institutions use cars. And if we adapt to the cars that is made in our country, we are helping the commerce of our country. We are helping the growth of the car industry in the country, which means every other institutions will be bound to use the car that is made in Ghana. And in this state, look at the ripple effect. When these cars are bought in Ghana, which means Ghanaians, that industry will expand. Ghanaians will get more jobs, more employment will increase in that industry. People will make money. This money will be used in Ghana, and then it will revolve. Whatever industry that is related in the car industry, like the spare parts, like the fitting shops, like the tire shop, all these are linked to the industry. But what are we doing? We import cars that is made in other countries. So in other words, the little resources that we have that we are supposed to plow back into our own economy, into our own industry, to help us grow, to help us increase employment and the standard of living of our own people, we are using that scarce resources to go outside, import these cars, which in other words also increase the value of their currency and then diminish our currency. In other words, at the end of the day, we get the cars and we are at a loss. So it is up to us to make sure that we reform our system to benefit us. United States service local government will never drive a car made by Toyota. You will never see a police car made by Mercedes. It will never happen in the United States. You know why? Because that is a means of supporting their car industry to help it grow, to help increase the employment of the citizens of the country. But you look at our system, we are so fascinated about these cars that are imported, so much so that the car that is made within our country, we are not patronizing. And that goes a long way to hurt ourselves. So until we realize that the little things count, the minute things count, and then we're able to do the little things that kind of adds up to become greater things, we are not gonna go anywhere. Let me give you this example. My own king, the Ashanti Kingdom, right? Otunfo, the one who is present on the stool right now, went to this celebration by this man that Kantanka that makes the Ghanaian cars, right? And then this king made a speech. When he made a speech, he was like, "We have to buy our own cars. We have to, buy made in Ghana goods. We have to do this to increase our own commerce and our own economic system." And guess what? When this guy was done and was leaving the ceremony, do you know what he did? He drove out in a phantom. In a phantom, Rolls Royce. You are telling me that I should buy made in Ghana goods. You just made a speech, a great speech, that we have to patronize made in Ghana goods. And then when you were done, you left in a phantom. Meanwhile, this man that you went to his celebration has a nice made in Ghana car that can take you out of the ceremony to wherever you're going, but you drove in a phantom. Do you see how we think? So at the end of the day, we have to realize that there needs to be a reform, and that reform will help us to be able to grow our economies better. Politically, there are a whole lot of stuff that we can do, but I know I have taken a lot of time, so I'll leave and then make that point on the other side.
The need for a reform cannot be overestimated or underestimated. Gentlemen, thank you so much for this first round of conversation that we've had so far. Ladies and gentlemen across our beloved continent and the world at large, this is the People's Talk Show. The People's Talk Show is a part and parcel of the People's News Africa. It's that platform that brings you information like this, where we share our experiences, where we share our perspective on issues that affect the growth and development of Africa. I always have this belief: if Africa problems must be resolved, it requires the efforts and energies of Africans. Our solution does not lie in the hands of anyone else out of Africa, but right within Africa. So we utilize platforms like this to provide information and to solicit the views of every Africans across and beyond our continent. Once again, we'd like to take this time to welcome you. My name is D. Kafinas Nentu. I'm speaking to you from Liberia. This discussion is made possible through the effort of my distinguished colleague, Kabala from DR Congo, Kujo from Ghana, and Isopa from Liberia. We will briefly be joined with by one of our distinguished brothers from who is also a Liberian, but he's based in Rwanda, currently undergoing his study. I will now bring you on the show. And Isaac, I'd like to welcome you to the conversation. Briefly take the next 1 minute to introduce yourself to our listening audience, please.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you very much to everyone, and thank you, Kavala. It is actually a pleasure to be here today to join you people on the splendid discussion. I've sat and I've been following the discussion for all the past 30 minutes now, and I moved honestly. My name is Alexei Msupu. Like he said, I am a Liberian, but currently studying in Kigali, Rwanda, and I'm an Pan-Africanist. I do believe that if Africa is to move or if Africa is to develop, it depends on we African. I hold that view as well. So it is a pleasure joining you people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Isaac, for being a part of this conversation. We once again like to welcome you and thank you for joining us. Could you put your mic on? Just look right beneath where you see your photo. You see the mic turning off quickly. Okay. Now, gentlemen, this is the second segment of our conversation, and I'd like to come back again to Kabbalah. Kabbalah, there is an entrepreneur who is in Nigeria. He's a very familiar guy from Nigeria. He's called Tony, uh, I think Tony Emelu Isopan. You are familiar with him, right?
Tuli Elenu
Elenu,
Elume.
yeah,
Tony Elume.
Elume. He coined the term Afro capitalism. And I'll read to you quickly some of what he tries to push forward across the continent because he's one person who has actually frowned at this concept of individualism as opposed to this communal stuff where many people benefit from whatever wealth and capital that society has to share, as opposed to the concept that is being pushed forth by the capitalist system of economy. One of the things he said, when the ideology of Afro capitalism is accepted across the continent, one of the foremost goals will be to promote a sense of progress and um, prosperity. Even though he was not speaking of prosperity in the context of the absence of poverty, but looking at other critical aspects of life like quality education, improved standard of living, and all of those kinds of stuff. He also talked about the sense of parity and inclusion where no one is excluded from the economic system that must benefit their lives. Then he talked about a sense of peace and harmony, where we can forge together as people, where we can promote one society, one destiny, that everyone benefit and no one is left behind. Then he mentioned a sense of place and belonging, that Africa is the only continent that we have and we should share this place where everyone fulfill their dreams and aspirations. Do you find this new concept of Afro capitalism as something that can be embraced by all Africans over the concept of capitalism?
Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Kathina. I don't know much about the person that you've just mentioned. It's my first time actually to hear the name, and even his ideology. I don't have much information about it, but the few points that you've outlined already, some of them are important items that we should be having in any economic system that has to be working for people in Africa. However, when we look at the current problem, I mean, the problem that we have in the current economic system, the major difficulties that we have that the capitalists have never been able to solve and are not willing to solve is the problem of inequality. And secondly, is the problem uh, of plundering resources or depleting by purpose natural resources. So any economic system that Africans must come up with should be able to respond to these two limits. One is inequality, and secondly, it's how do we make sure that the resources, natural resources that we have, are not really plundered in order to create wealth in the pockets of few individuals, instead of instead of the wealth being equally distributed among the population. For example, since 1980s, the world has become more and more richer than never before. Our world as we're speaking today. But however, according to statistics, 80% of the wealth that has been created since 1980s has gone to the pocket of 1% richest people in the world. And the rest of us have had to deal with the 20% of the wealth. That is not economic system that has to be promoted. Even though he in the points that you have mentioned about the guy, he spoke about progress, and I think he mentioned something like progress, and that is the same rhetoric that has been spoken by capitalists for over and over about progress. However, when the mean progress, they say progress, the mean only progress for the super class, the 1%, the 0.1%, who has been amassing wealth since since the time of of the period. I mean, since the starting time of the capitalism that we have in the world today. But this is what we still have as a system, as I've just said. Every I mean, the wealth that we have in a society is directly the exploitation of the resources, natural resources that we have. And we know, by scientific facts, that the resources that we have can be depleted and can finish. So it means when we get maybe to 2,100 years, some of the resources that we have, for example, in the Congo, right now they are basically exploiting what we call the coltan in order to build technology and all those stuff. Maybe by the year 100, 1000, 2100s, coltan will finish, will be depleted in the Congo, and the wealth will be gone into the pockets of two individuals who are controlling the technological companies in this world. And that is not the system that we want to have. So what we can propose and what we have to propose as African economic system is to have a system that put a limit on how far anybody can get rich. Because as we speak now, the richest person in the world is about 200 billion. It's a lot of money, and they're all racing to get trillions, and the poor are getting more poor and poor. So if we don't put a limit to how people can get rich, we will get definitely to a point where people become more richer to the point where the whole world become a private property of one or few individuals. Because as we're speaking now, there's only three, even if it's not two, areas of investment for capitalists. They invest only in a war because all the areas that have been covered already. They're left with three options. One is investing in war and war preparation. That brings them a lot of money. The second one's investing in diseases, creating diseases and inventing vaccines. The third one is to buying all the public entities to make them private entities. And we see that debate right here in South Africa. There are a lot of public companies, energy company, main one, which is being targeted to be privatized, to be bought as a private company, to be running as a private companies. It's the same as airline industry. So for them to get more and more money to become trillionaires, they'll be buying all the public institutions to make them private, including countries. And we get to the point where the whole world becomes a private property if we don't put a limit on how people can get rich. So this is something that Africa must invent so that we can make sure that there's a standard. There's a upper limits, and there must be also a lower limits on how people can get poor. So in that way, we'll be making sure that we have an economic system that creates two things at the same time. One is equality, and the second one is to preserve the resources that we have. Because, as you know, the definition of the sustainable development, according to United Nations, is to guarantee that the exploitation of the resources today do not impair the future generations to also profit from the same resources. And if we do not do that, we are putting the future generations in difficulties, as they might even have nothing to rely their lives on as natural resources. As a political system, as I said in the beginning, we must have a system that guarantees that every major policy that is being legislated in the parliament must pass firstly to people, and the people must validate that before it goes to the president to be validated. That will make sure that we take our government institution out of the hands or out of the pockets of the international transnational capitalist class that always lobbies our government or our politicians to do things that would benefit them and not benefit the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kabbalah. Isaac, that you have just joined, let me come to you and pose this question to you. I will take from a few of what Kabbalah has said, and also take from one of the comments that Dr. Sadiq has made. Capitalism in itself is not to understand about economic practice depending on how it is being practiced by a particular society. As a matter of fact, there are countries where capitalism has been practiced and they prosper. The people live an improved standard of living. There is equality in education system and all of those things are working. But unlike Africa, it's the reverse. Must we rethink about some critical aspect of how the entire system is being structured, like what we can do to ensure that everyone benefits from equal share of natural wealth that the society has, reducing aspects of corruption and bad governance such that people benefit from the national cake and all those kinds of things that are considered to be biases that affect the growth and development of our continent. So, what positive lesson can we learn from the practice of capitalism and the system of democratic governance that can help to prepare this continent for a better future?
Thank you, Kabana. Thank you very much. You, you know, we Africans, we let me first begin by saying that we are our own problem. We have interpretations of everything that happens around the world. There are things that capitalism that help other continents or other countries to prosper. But I want to believe that our way of capturing things are far different. Let me say this very clearly. We, it is not bad to adapt a system. Though for me, I take the view that we have to adapt our own system economically and politically. But in this manner, it's not bad to adapt or to learn from other people. But we should know that culture culture diversity exists in those places. There are different cultures, there are different way of life, there are different things that people do across in these places, and because we see it working for people, it doesn't mean that it definitely work for us, because we have different culture. So if we are adapting, or if we are taking some system or level of ideas from other people, it means that we too have to look at it in a sense that it will be able um to fit in our culture. Because in Africa, I tell you for sure, we have mixed system. If it comes to economic and political, we is very way too much mixed. If you go in Uganda, you will see people doing some things differently. If you go to Savalu, you will see people doing things differently in Ghana and all those places across. I'm saying this to say that if we are adapting, or if we are getting involved in the practice of uh, capitalism, we should get it and uh, make it to be part of us, that it will be able to fit in our culture. Uh, Honestly, if you read the UN and the AU 2063 agenda, there are a lot of good words there. There are a lot of good plans. There are a lot of so many aspirations. I just read through the document and I saw the seven aspiration, and they are good. It's good to see an inclusive Africa. It's good to see an Africa where young people will enjoy the national cake, and where you see social inclusion and social justice be practiced, where you see a corrupt-free continent. These are all words, but what I want to say is that we need our own economic and political system to be able to drive this change, because Africa problem, or Africa the solution to Africa problem is right in Africa. Like one of the brothers said, you can't, or you cannot go into another country like the United States of America America and Europe, and you see people there, local government officials driving cars, and you observe it being made in Europe or made in America or made in Russia. Just quite recently, I followed a news that people is out of Zimbabwe or Kenya. There was a car produced, and we in Africa, it was interesting to know that there was African on that post that was containing that ad that they did not see the reality, they did not see such a good in that production of that car from that African country. So it tells you that we ourselves are our own problem. So to catch up some positive things from other people outside there, we should take into consideration our culture. And when we are adapting these systems to come to our continent, it means that we should be ready. We should be ready to go for it. We have the resources. We have all what it takes to make our continent great. But it will be interesting to know that we have played a major and key role in the developmental process of other continents and even ourselves.
Okay. Isaac, I will just hold you there for a minute because we are gradually running out of time. But there are some key issues that you highlighted, and some of them has to do with going back to our culture and understanding where we come from as people and upholding those
Yes, you can
values
adapt
that
anything.
bind us. I come in. Those values that bind us together. And you mentioned the rule of law, social justice, inclusion, and all of those very key issues, which are very important. But let me bring Kujo back also because he mentioned a few other things that are very central. Kujo, you first and foremost talk about the aspect of not patronizing some of what we produce as Africans. Like you cited the case of Ghana and the Ashanti King and okay, what is going on there? Now, if you also look at the continent, we are far behind. We are lag behind in terms of major or in major areas like education, like health, um, even self-sufficiency in terms of food and all of those. Now, Dr. Sadiq highlighted, or he probably highlighted the issue of this patriotism. What can we do to ensure that that is reflected Africa first? Because my this is my perception that we can reinvent the wheel. We can do anything or everything that we want to do as people. It will not make any significant change if we do not put our mind to pursuing this collective interest. If we cannot put our minds to ensuring that everyone gets on board and benefits, or that those who are at the helm of power and controls the resources reinvest into those who are involved into some kind of production like the car industry in Ghana and Nigeria, for instance, the cocoa production group in Ghana and Africos, for example, and the rest of the different industry. How do we patronize? How do we empower these local businesses? Because the essence of all the economic systems that we have, whether it's capitalism, whether it's socialism or communism, is geared towards bettering up the lives of the local people. So, what key message can you put across the table about how we do empower these local enterprises?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I read that Dr. Sadiq message, and I really wish that he was part of the program so we can have a debate on that. What we have to know and understand is we can affect our own economy in a small way that can gradually snowball into a bigger and a powerful growth. That is what we don't recognize. When you go to my page, theafricanchild.com, whether on YouTube or Facebook, you realize that when the pandemic started, I made a statement. You could realize that most of our leaders act as demigods. They act like you know, how the imperialists were acting when they were ruling us, when they were enslaving us. This is my point. When they were sick, they will not use our healthcare system in the country within which they live to rule us, especially Ghana. And then they will just carry themselves to where? To England to be catered for. When they have children, their children did not patronize our education system. They will just pick their children to England to go to school. That is the same way and the same behavior that our leaders are putting up, right? Our ministerial officer or our minister of finance or education or healthcare, when he is sick, he takes the few resources of the country and then go to what? To Europe, to United States, to be catered for. When our presidents are sick, they will take the resources of our country, the little resources that we need to use to fuel our own economy. They will take the resources and then go to Europe. The president of Nigeria, when he was sick, I think what, 2016 or 18, I forgot, spent I think about $350 an hour when he went to Europe to take care of himself. Why am I saying this? The resources that we have that we need to plow back into our economy, had this president invested in the healthcare system of the Nigerian healthcare, that healthcare will be able to take care of him. Now, because we do not take care of our own system, we realize that when it's time that we need that system to take care of us, we have to run. And they're able to run because they have the power to do so. Okay, so my proposal was, if you're education minister, if you're finance minister, if you're healthcare minister, if you're president and you are sick, you will be forced to use the health system of the country within which you rule. Which means if you have a problem with your healthcare system, deal with it, make sure you solve it. So at the end of the day, when it's time that you need it, you can fall on that same healthcare system to use it. When this pandemic started, every airport was shut down. When every airport was shut down, these presidents could not go to Europe, United States, Asia when they were sick, which means they were forced to use the healthcare system of their respective countries. Why don't you do that now? Why don't you invest in your own healthcare system to grow it, to make it better, so you can use it when you need it? That is the mindset that I'm talking about, the reformation of our system and our mindset. We shouldn't wait for pandemic to strike, to halt all airports for us to be able to realize that, oh, we have to use our education system. We have to use our healthcare system. We have to use our transportation system. No, do that now. Forget about it. When have you ever seen Rwandan president, Paul, I forgot the last name, travel to Europe to take care of himself when he's sick? Because he realized that, hey, I have to invest in my country, industrial, healthcare, whatsoever. That is what we need. Our leaders should realize that we have to patronize, we have to invest in our own systems. If we don't do that, we're not going to grow. The 330 pounds per hour that the president of Nigeria spent in Europe when he was sick for, I think, 3 months that he stayed in the hospital, what do you think that money would have done for the Nigerian healthcare system had he invested, had he decided, okay, I will stay here, pay that money to my own healthcare system so they can invest, they can grow their healthcare system. This is what I'm talking about. We have to patronize. We have to know that if we don't do it, there will come a time that when we need it, we cannot use it because we did not invest in it. That is what I'm talking about. Politically, we have to realize that our culture must be infused, must be intertwined with our political system. This is what I'm saying, right? I think 3 administrations ago, give me 2 minutes. 3 administrations ago, when President Kufuor came into power in Ghana, there were conflicts in our northern part of Ghana. 2 tribes killing themselves. All political resolutions did not work. Do you know what he did? He called on all the chiefs all the kings in the country to come together and find solution. And guess what? They found solution to the problem, and there were peace between the 2 tribes, and the war ceased. That is what I'm talking about. Our culture must be infused into our political system so it works as we want it to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kujo. Isopan, earlier on you spoke about the issue of unity. And if you observe the political climate in Africa now, especially West Africa, for the past few months or years or so, you realize that it has taken a little shape. There is a level of dynamism in the way in which politics is being played across the continent, West Africa specifically. We have seen administration that serve for one term. And recently, we are also seeing how referendums and all those kinds of stuff have been introduced, extending certain group of people tenure and all of that. And there are other countries where we are also seeing where ruling party are losing their grips. Like if you see those contesting at the level of Senate, at the level of representative, the governing party, because they are underperforming, so people do not give them their vote. People do not trust and give them that legitimacy to represent them anymore. So we understanding that in the last few months or years or so, the scope of politics is taking another shape, is changing gradually. Should that be a natural flow to say, okay, let it happen that way? Or do we need a kind of robust action where our people will stand to their feet and take every necessary step to ensure that when it is time for you to leave, you leave? If you cannot deliver the goods and services that will maximize the lives of the people, if you cannot seek their interests, you leave. Even if you serve your tenure, when the time comes for you to leave, you leave. How do we hold our people accountable for entrusted responsibility?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kafina. It's good you actually use the West part of African continent as an example. Unfortunately, we don't have so much time anymore. But what I'm going to say, if you look at the African continent within the African states and regions, you will find that the West part of the African states seems to be more politically stabilized and growing gradually at a slow pace that is kind of tiring. We'll hope that things will speed it up a little bit, but we're beginning to understand and enjoy a political stability in the western part of Africa. Hopefully the east, central, and southern part of Africa will follow suit. We cannot rush it, as you've asked, as you've suggested. Whatever you rushed always end up in a catastrophic way. We've gradually built this political stability in the West and in some other pockets of the African continent. I think we should continue gradually to push for a better and a more stable political atmosphere in the complete African continent. We can do this, and we are doing it. The one thing that can speed in political stability, growth, and infrastructures, and improve and increase, as you asked, the standard of living among the African states is a rightful leader in position. When you have a leader who understands what leadership means, you tend to grow. When a leader lacks vision, the people, the followers, the subordinates, they suffer the consequences. And that has become the nightmare that African has been faced with. If you look at some pockets in Africa where the leadership is focused and has a vision, you will experience that, you will witness that there is economic stability and growth, and the life there is more relaxed and comfortable. And this is possible across all African states if we prudently choose our leaders, not choosing leaders out of our selfish personal gains and religious and ethnicity bias that has been plaguing the African political arena. We choose our leaders based on our political affiliations, not based on the welfare and the patriotism for our nation. So this is a sad story that needs to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my dear brother. Well, ladies and gentlemen, like the saying goes, every good thing should come to an end. This is how we are gradually drawing down the curtains of our conversation. This has been the production of the People's Talk Show. The People's Talk Show is a part and parcel of the People's News Africa. It's the platform that teaches you Africa's history, our culture, politics, and our inheritance. Now, gentlemen, as we are gradually winding down our curtain, I would just like to take a few comments from what have been posted by our some of our listening audience and bring it to the show, so that you can look at it and give your comment if you want to. But please, that we don't have time anymore, I would just like you to speak to it just for, if possible, 30 seconds, and then we try to wrap it up as soon as possible. I will bring on board first and foremost Sabelu. He said neo-colonial system is not in favor to any African society. Development should be within Africa and stop to always looking in at the you or looking in for European solution. Kabbalah, if you might like to take like 30 seconds and just comment on that comment that is raised by Sabelo.
Thank you, brother. Sabelo is definitely right. Development is inside out process and never outside in process. We cannot develop by copycatting European views. We cannot develop by catching up, by playing a catch-up game, of European institutions. The fact that it worked in Europe, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will work in our countries. We are different people. We should build something based on our philosophy of humanity. And basically, as Africa is concerned, we should build a system that is functionally based on Ubuntu philosophy. So, in order to end my comment, I must really emphasize that, and I borrowed this from Mr. Fuller Jr. Sorry, he said that if you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand may only confuse you. That is exactly what is happening in the world today. When debate comes about what institution or what system Africa must adopt, it exactly comes down to that. We think that capitalism can develop us, but how long have we been using it?
Okay,
So
then I come to
Thank you very
Isop,
much.
and Dr. Sadiq said grassroots encouragement is the best way to set things in motion. You don't start building a house from the roof or from up to down. Rather, we need to reintroduce the building from the ground up. Our governments should invest in people rather than depending on the West.
Yeah, Dr. Sadiq is very right. The driving force of every economy, which the West have properly understood, is the grassroots investment, the commerce, the trade of goods and services amongst the citizens, these little business owners. they are the bedrock of every economic growth in every society, which our government in Africa seems to have overlooked and not paid a blind attention to. The government of Africa, like Dr. Sadiq said, should not build from up to down, but rather lay the foundation that will be the bedrock of economic growth and stability and improvement in the human life and in the society as a whole. So it is right. Government should invest in infrastructures that the people can take advantage of to improve their lifestyle, which will lead to the economic growth of African states.
And Kujo, Dr. Sadiq or Joseph Eld, also from the People's News Africa, said, from my perspective, a system which was designed to cripple Africa in order to let the rest of the world flourish cannot in any way be used by Africans for any positive outcome. The exploitative model used by the West cannot be enjoyed, cannot be employed by Africans unless we are going to be happy seeing ourselves exploiting ourselves.
Well, this has a lot. This has a lot of stuff in it that I would love to break it down, but we don't have much time. Yeah, it is true. It is true that the system needs to be changed. But no, I would not say change. I would say needs to be evaluated and adapted to suit us. Like I'm saying, in respect to governance, I like the democratic governance than any other type of governance. But I think we have to make sure that we tune it in such a way that it is reflective of us as Africans. When we do that, we will flourish. And secondly, we have to also be honest to the system. Like what is going on right here, right now in the United States, you realize that the system is working. The system is working not because of the documents. No, it's because the people are standing up because of the rules in the document. So when the people stand up to that regulation, then the system will work. So when they are honest to that democracy, democracy or the rule or the law, then the system will work. When they are honest to that, the system will work. So like you're saying, our democracy is not working, but do we stand honestly to the rule of law? I think if we do that honestly, the system will work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kujo. And then Isaac, Dr. Sadiq also said, not all Western ideologies are wrong. The issue is that Africa needs to understand what political system fits her culture. Many political systems of the West were taken from the African concept of governance back in the day. What they have done every day is to keep expanding and reforming.
Yeah, thank you. I read that question previously, and that is comment as well. You see, what I said in my first comment is that all of culture or all our systems or ideas in the Western world, they are not bad, right? But the issue of adapting them is we should make sure that it fits in our culture. Yeah, ideologies are good. Back in the days in Africa, other things the Europeans took them from here and they expanded on them. So take for example democracy. Democracy is a very good system, but at this point, I do believe that it's not just working for us because people use it in different means. Today, if you give people or Africans or West Africans the right, just go on and do anything. Imagine giving a representative or a single person 9 years in a country where there is no system, they are not being a solid system. It breaks down, it cripples the economy, it cripples every other aspect of the economy. So he is very right. Not every ideologies are wrong. We can base on we can use their strategies. Taking into consideration all ideas from European countries, you adapt it. Make sure, not everything you take from anybody, just use it. But at least you make sure that it fits in your culture. there should be something there that you capture fits in your culture, and definitely it's going to work out for us. But at this point in time where we don't have a very solid system, we should go back to our root. There is an African proverb that says it's easier to bend a tree while it is still young. So it's better that we go back to our root and give more time to rebranding our culture, to rebrand our system. That's the way we can fit in this.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, Kabbalah, Kujo, and Isopan. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to say thank you so much for the time you spent with us. This has been the production of the People's Talk Show. The People's Talk Show is a part parcel of the People's News Africa, and it is that platform where we bring to you very confident show like this where we discuss issues that have to do with Africa's growth, about development. How do we progress as African people? How do we promote Africa's interests? How do we expand beyond the horizon? How can we make Africa great again? So we just like to thank you so much for being a part of our conversation today. The next time you see us will be next week Saturday, when we shall be coming to you again with a very brand new topic. Thanks to all those who have contributed, those who have sent in their comments, Sabelo, Dr. Joseph Sadiq, um, uh, the other fellow is called Samjan Edenk. Thank you, gentlemen, for your comments. We highly appreciate it. My name is D. Kafinas Neto. I'm speaking to you from Liberia. I've been joined with my distinguished colleague Isaac from Liberia, but is based in Rwanda. And Kabbalah from DR Congo, but is currently based in South Africa. Ishopan from Nigeria and is based in Germany. And Kujo from Ghana, but is based in the US. Gentlemen, thank you for making this show very successful. The next time we see you again will be on Saturday of next week. To all of our listening audience, let me just shout out to you a free happy Christmas and a forthcoming blessed New Year. Thank you so much. Bye bye.